What is going on, guys? Cody here to grade the NFL teams through the first quarter of the 2023 NFL season. All right, now this is as simple as it gets, guys. A, best teams. B, solid teams. C, good teams. D, below average. F, terrible. And first thing we're going to start off with is the Cincinnati Bengals. And I mean, they've been completely disappointing, man. And they shouldn't be with an elite quarterback like Joe Burrow, but he's been hurt. They haven't done anything to protect him. Their offensive line has been terrible. Jamar Chase has had a good game, but the Bengals just are disappointing, man. They should be at the top of the AFC, and now they're looking like they're not even going to make the playoffs. New England Patriots going in F tier. They got blown out by the Cowboys and the Saints back to back weeks. Mac Jones is in danger of losing his job. Bill Belichick's on his way to being forced out of town by Robert Kraft, I believe. Yeah, the Patriots it's punishment for winning those 6 Super Bowls. They're in for a decade of darkness, I believe. New Orleans Saints, they've been competitive in their division. They've been competitive in most games that they played, but their offense just hasn't really taken off. Derek Carr hasn't been impressive. Dennis Allen's not a good coach. They just got Alvin Kamara back, and he's just not in his regular form right now. It might take a little bit for him to get warmed up. Michael Thomas has had a pretty good resurgence, but the Saints, they're just average. I don't think they're in position to make the playoffs yet. I think Tampa Bay is probably going to win in that division. I'll get into that later. Yeah, New Orleans, they're just average. Now, the Pittsburgh Steelers, they're an incredibly tough team to grade. I'll put them in C tier. Their offense is horrible. Matt Canada is probably the worst coordinator in the league. Their defense is phenomenal, but they always have a phenomenal defense. That's what's expected of them. Mike Tomlin is still one of the best coaches in the league. But Kenny Pickett, his progression just isn't where you thought it would be. Najee Harris just looks like he's running in quicksand, and George Pickens is their only weapon. But they just beat Baltimore on a last-second field goal because of George Pickens, basically. So it's hard to call them bad. It's hard to call them good. They're just average. They're still probably going to have a winning record just because Mike Tomlin doesn't ever lose or have a losing record. But yeah, the Steelers, I don't see them doing anything, but they're not bad, but they're not great either. San Francisco 49ers, the favorite to win the Super Bowl right now, if you ask me. I have a feeling if they face the Eagles in the NFC Championship today, they would beat the living crap out of the Eagles. Brock Purdy, as of this recording, is 10-0 as a starter. Just had the best game of his career so far in a blowout over the Dallas Cowboys. Yeah, the 49ers are the heavy favorite to win the Super Bowl right now. The Cardinals are average. I want to put them in B tier just because they've been good. They've hung in every game they've played so far. They got their butt whooped by the 49ers, but that was kind of expected with the team that's probably going to win the Super Bowl. The Cardinals, what was expected of them was to be an F tier. They've been solid so far. Josh Dobbs has been really good. Their defense has been solid. Yeah, the Cardinals are a good team, and they're way above expectations. So, yeah, they deserve C tier. Actually, I would put them in B, but you can't do that because they're not going to finish strong. But yeah, they've been really good. Now, the Atlanta Falcons, they're in the C tier. They could be in the B tier, but it's Desmond Ridder. He's kind of not taking that second year step. He's looked like he's regressed, and he wasn't even that impressive in his rookie year, but he is just not looking good. Now, their 2 running backs, Tyler Algier and Bijan Robinson, they've helped carry that team, but the Falcons, I just don't see them finishing strong. That division's competitive with New Orleans and Tampa. Yeah, the Falcons are just average. If they had a better quarterback, and I'm not saying it's time to give up on Desmond Ridder. It's just he's not progressing the way he should be, and I feel like he needs a little bit more time to sit and learn from a veteran starter. I feel like if they put Taylor Heineke in, they would probably make the playoffs. The Falcons are just average right now. Baltimore Ravens, they're good. They've just lost 2 games they shouldn't have lost to the Indianapolis Colts and the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Baltimore Ravens, they're good, but I don't see them being as a serious threat to make the AFC Championship game or the Super Bowl. Same with Buffalo. Like Buffalo, as last week was my pick to face San Francisco in the Super Bowl, but now they just got their butt whooped by Jacksonville, and they're just inconsistent. Buffalo, I mean, Josh Allen should be, not saying every game he has to be perfect, but he's had a lot of bad games. You know, he did not look good against Jacksonville. He didn't look good week 1 against the Jets. Josh Allen just, I don't know if he's, I mean, he's that guy, but I don't know if he's ready to take that next step to be like truly the best, you know? Like he's always going to be second fiddle to Patrick Mahomes. Panthers, they're horrible. There's no way to sugarcoat it. They're horrible, and they're not going to have their first round pick. Chicago has it. So they could potentially earn the first overall pick and not even have it. And Bryce Young is not looking good. Bears, same thing. They look like crap. They just picked up their first win over Washington, but yeah, Washington, they're the Bears, we all know they're dog shit. Cleveland Browns, I want to put them in D tier so freaking bad because I hate the Deshaun. You know, they're going in D tier just because Deshaun Watson's not looked good. They lost Nick Chubb. I don't see them being able to take the division away from Baltimore. Yeah, Browns, it's more of just a hate thing because of them having Deshaun Watson, but they're going in D tier. The Dallas Cowboys started out the season incredibly hot and then blows a game against Arizona that they shouldn't have lost, but they came out flat. They get way too cocky. They think like, oh, we're just gonna win, you know, they don't work for it. And then on the other hand, they have a game against San Francisco where it's like, oh, you know, we're pumped up, and then they come out flat. They just aren't consistent. They don't have the heart to be a Super Bowl contender. They don't have the football IQ to beat some of these really good teams. I mean, watch the game they just had against San Francisco, and Kyle Shanahan just picked them apart with just simple little dump off passes by putting a guy in motion. You think you would see a guy in motion and you would just immediately put a guy on him, you know, but no, instead they're either playing zone or if they're playing man coverage, they were putting a linebacker on like Debo Samuel. So the Cowboys, they just don't have the football IQ to be in that top tier. The Broncos suck. They just lost to the Jets. Is there anything to say really? Yeah, the Broncos suck. The Lions, I am going to put them in A tier because they have looked, their offense is phenomenal. Even the game they lost against Seattle is still a shootout. The Lions are probably the third best team in the NFC right now. Yeah, the Lions are phenomenal. Jared Goff, he's had a real career resurgence. Tennessee Titans go in D tier. A few weeks ago, I would have put them in F tier, but they're just a scrappy team. They're boring as hell to watch, but they're not terrible, but they're not good either. Green Bay Packers, I would put them in B tier because I think they're going to make the wild card. They're probably going to finish second in their division to Detroit. I know they got destroyed by Detroit a few weeks ago, but yeah, the Green Bay Packers, Jordan Love, I've been very impressed by him. And even with not having that much of a running game and the receivers being hurt, and I mean, that whole team is hurt, the Packers have performed above what they should be at right now. So yeah, they're a good team. Is it Matt LaFleur or Mike LaFleur? I think it's Matt. He's kind of shown that he's a decent coach. The Packers, I've been impressed by them, and I think they're a very good team. Houston Texans, another team I've been very impressed by. CJ Stroud is a freaking dog, dude, and it's kind of looking like now he should have been the first overall pick in the draft. And he's got weapons around him. Tank Dell has looked really good. They just finally got Dalton Schultz involved. If they can get Pierce going, you know, the Texans they're in a really good spot right now because Jacksonville hasn't been doing a good job of trying to put that division away. Indianapolis Colts, Anthony Richardson's really good, but he keeps getting hurt. He's hurt again. But the Colts, I expected them to be the worst team in the league, even above Arizona, and they've shockingly been really good. And it looks like they're about to get Jonathan Taylor back. Yeah, I am very impressed by the Colts. The Jags, they have a potential to be in B tier, but they haven't been playing like it. I'm going to put them in that just because they picked up a huge win over Buffalo. They've really kind of shit the bed the last couple weeks. Like I have not been impressed with Trevor Lawrence so far this season, Calvin Ridley, and an offense that's full of weapons with, you know, Zay Jones and Christian Kirk and Evan Ingram and Travis Etienne. Their offense has just not looked good. So yeah, the Jacksonville Jaguars, they're going in B just because they finally beat a team that's in the top half of the AFC, but they could easily slide back down to C. Kansas City, A tier. They're as long as they have Mahomes, they're going to be an A tier. LA Rams, they're not good. They're not great. They're just average. Stafford's still throwing a lot of interceptions, but that's what he's always done. Puka Nacua has been a revelation, and they just got Cooper Kupp back. Yeah, they did just kind of get their butt whooped by the Philadelphia Eagles, but in the Rams, I thought they were going to be a lot worse than what they are. Yeah, they deserve a C tier. Now the Chargers deserve D tier, and I know this is going to be controversial right here, but they started off 0-2, now they're 2-2, but the two teams they beat are the Vikings and the Raiders, who are not good teams. The Chargers, their offense is good. Kellen Moore, though, still has that boneheaded play calling sometimes, and Brandon Staley's a horrible coach. So the Chargers, they deserve D tier just off their coaching alone, and the wins they've had are against quality opponents. Miami, there's no way you can argue for them to be in any other tier except A. They have the best offense in the league. They have the fastest core of receivers and running backs in the league. Now, the only thing is we can now see that they can be beat because they lost to Buffalo a few weeks ago. But Miami is scary. The only way they can really lose is if they turn the ball over and beat themselves. Now, I'm sorry, but I got to put the Minnesota Vikings in F tier. 1-4. They keep fumbling the dang ball, or like they've wasted good performances by Kirk Cousins and Justin Jefferson, and they should not be 1-4 right now. But they're just not good. Their defense isn't good, and if their offense does get it together, they eventually piss it away by turning the ball over. So the Vikings just aren't a good team. The Giants, same thing. The Giants are horrible. The Giants are horrible. There's no other way you can there's no other way you can describe the New York Giants. Their offense stinks. Their defense stinks. Everything about them sucks. The Saquon Barkley's hurt right now. Yeah, there's no way you can describe the Giants other than they suck. Now the Jets, after week 2, you could put them in F tier, but Zach Wilson, he's pieced it together, man. He looked good against Denver. He had a solid game the week before that against Kansas City, even though they lost. He still looks solid. Maybe they deserve D tier just because of their record, but they could easily make the case for C tier just because the Jets, they should have lost all hope, but they've kind of rallied around Zach Wilson, and he's shown maturity. And maybe if Aaron Rodgers would stop being a diva and actually go on the sidelines with the team and maybe be in Zach Wilson's ear during the game, the Jets have potential to rally around Zach Wilson. The Raiders, man, they're just itching to fire Josh McDaniels. That's it right now. Jimmy G, he's looked decent. Their offense is all right. Just they can't overcome their coaching, and their play calling is really, really predictable. And Josh Jacobs is not what he was last year. The Raiders, they're just itching to restart with a new coach right now. And now over to the B tier. Seattle Seahawks, Geno Smith and his resurgence is still going on. They're a very solid team. Pete Carroll is still one of the best coaches in the league. Yeah, I really, really like the Seahawks. They're a dark horse to get to the NFC Championship. It just kind of depends how they're going to match up with San Francisco, because that's probably their biggest threat in their own division. And then the Eagles, if the Eagles, we'll get to them in a second, actually. Tampa Bay, they've been really good as well. Mike Evans and Baker Mayfield's a solid connection. Their defense is solid. They just need to get a run game going. But Baker Mayfield's been incredible. He's been way better than he has any right to be. The Eagles are a light A tier. Like they still look good. They're 5-0 right now, but they're 5-0 just because their offense is still good, but they've had some turnover issues, and it's not what it was last year. But their defense has been very solid, and Jalen Carter has been a very welcome addition to that team. But right now, I don't see them being able to beat San Francisco, and I think they would struggle against Detroit and Seattle. I think could give them a run for their money. So the Eagles are a very good team, but they're not unstoppable. And then Washington, I would have put them in C tier, but if you lose to the Bears, you're going in D tier right now. Sam Howell, I still think is a very good quarterback, but I don't like some of the moves they've done with I don't like some of their play calling really. Like sometimes they put him in a good position, the other times it's like, okay, why are you having him do that, you know? Yeah, Washington, they're a good team, but they're kind of in the same category as the Raiders where they have poor coaching. But everybody, that was the video NFL quarterly rankings. We'll be back for the mid-season rankings here in a few weeks and see maybe this list has changed at all. Maybe some more teams will go in the F tier. Because when I was thinking about this video, I'm like, oh, there's a bunch of teams I'd put in F. But then when you really start to think about it, it's like, okay, maybe they deserve a little bit more credit. Uh, what are your guys' thoughts? Leave them in the comment section below. Subscribe to the channel. If we hit 500 by the end of the year, that Funko collection behind me, I'm going to do a detailed video on that of how I have acquired every Funko. Trainwreck Podcast is now available on Apple and Spotify. So if you guys could leave a 5-star rating on the podcast, that'd be awesome. It is also uploaded to YouTube, and it's a very NFL heavy podcast right now because we're in the middle of NFL season, the most wonderful time of the year. Anyway, I hope you guys have a great day. Like the video, please. Please subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you next time.